Hello, my name is David. I'm going to be talking kind of fast because this is a quite long presentation. I don't know if you've ever had anyone to talk about the seven spirits of God before. And before I get started in this, I'm going to apologize just in case I have to stop and drink water. I do have a cup of water sitting by. This is going to be somewhat of a long presentation because we're going to be talking about the seven spirits of God. And I'm going to describe those in just a moment. As you can see them, they're listed on the screen, as you can see, and they're called the keys of life. The seven spirits of God were sent forth into all the earth, and that's what we're going to be talking about. You can find the information to support what we're talking about in two books in the Holy Bible, and we're using in this, as you see at the top right and left, we're using the King James Version of the Bible to do this, and I recommend that you use any version of the Bible that you choose, because the same information in your version is going to be as it is in this version of the King James Bible. Now, yet it is available now because we've done this now for quite some time. That is, over the years, to study the seven spirits of God and to show you where they are listed into the Bible and to show you how important they are. We're going to go through 31 slides and 33 chapters in order to get the information that we're talking about. You see, from pillar to pillar in a cloud that God gave you, the seven spirits of God. Well, that's, you'll find that book in the pillar, Pillar, versus the Pillow. And the pillar that we're talking about is where Jacob was laying on the ground and he used a rock as a pillar, and he had a dream and he saw the angels ascending and descending out of heaven, and God and allowed him to set up a pillar. He used it as a pillar, and he took the pillar, which was a rock, and he made an altar to God at the night after sleeping on the rock and having the dream and seeing the angels ascending and descending. Now, what we're going to go through now, without trying to go through the entire Bible, is just do somewhat of a synopsis of which are the seven spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. You'll see that in the book of Revelation, chapter 5, verse 6, where it talks about a lamb that was as though it had been slain, having seven horns and seven eyes, which are the seven spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. And then you'll see in the 11th chapter, the book of Isaiah, in chapter 11, verse 1 through 4, it literally name the seven spirits of God that you see listed on the screen, and we're using that to show that the seven spirits of God are the keys to one's life, and we're going to show you how those seven keys will fit into your life, or regardless of who you are. Every human being can have and utilize all seven spirits of God. Now, at the bottom, you'll see the URL for you to obtain your copy or copies of the book of the seven spirits of God. You see seed of Abraham, and not Abraham, but using the same name that God used when he changed Abram's name to Abraham, was just a reversal in this case, because when we tried to obtain the URL seed of Abraham, we were not able to obtain that. So we used the same principle that God used when he changed Abram's name to Abraham. So we did just a reverse, or changing Abraham back to Abram. Out at the bottom in the blue, you say, well, this is a PayPal URL for ordering your copy or for making donations to our scholarship fund. And this is a scholarship fund, DCL scholarship fund, where we use the proceeds to help needy students to go to school. Now, we're going to get involved in this now and give some information about each one of the data that we're going to show starting in the next part of this presentation. So let us get started. Again, I think I've already apologized for not having to stop and drink water. What you see on the screen are the seed of Abraham. Yep, the seed of Abraham. And Abraham, as you can see, had 8 sons, Ishmael being the oldest, Isaac being the second. And then after Sarah, his wife, died after 120 years, he had 6 other sons by his second wife, or concubine, and they're listed on the right side in the green. So we're not going to get into details about the sons. I do hope, though, for you to stop this information and study each one of the names, because each one of the names are, well, they are the seed of Abraham, and according to God, each one of Abraham's seed is blessed because God told Abraham that he would bless his seed, and Abraham has 8 sons, which is considered to be his seed, and that God never breaks a promise, and he never changes. And we'll find that in the book of Malachi in chapter 3, verse 6, that I am God and I change not, and he's talking specifically to Jacob when he said that. So what we're talking about now is for you to get an understanding of the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth, and all human beings that are on earth are from the lineage that we see on the screen of the Muslims on the left side and Isaac in the center. Somewhat, we won't go into details about that. We're just going to show you that each one of these 8 seed of Abraham are where the 7 spirits of God are housed. Now, here I've cleared my throat already, and I'm just really getting started in this presentation, but I am going to drink water in order to not have to continue this to stop. I don't know why it happens when I drink and give a presentation of this nature. I do have a tendency to have a dry mouth. Now we're going to show you in the latter part of this what I'm talking about at the end of this presentation. But now let us go get started in the 7 spirits of God. Now the 7 spirits of God, as you see, are actually hidden in the Bible, but they're not hidden. They're right there in the plain eye. But in the book of Proverbs is one of the sole places that I recommend that you study this if you want to do it yourself, or I've already gone through to pull it out for you. And you see all 7 spirits of God starting in chapter 1, and there are 31 chapters or 33 slides, 31 chapters to give you the idea of how to utilize all 7 spirits of God in this wisdom, knowledge, understanding, might, counsel, the fear of the Lord, the spirit of might, the spirit of fear of the Lord. These are the 7 spirits of God, and we're going to highlight them all in the blue. When you see them in dark blue like that, you're going to be looking at the 7 spirits of God that's talked about by Isaiah in chapter 11, verse 2, where he literally named the 7 spirits of God to let us know that God's Son, Jesus Christ, when he come to the earth, he would be wearing the 7 spirits of God. And we know that Jesus Christ is really the only person in the Bible who lived without sin. And God's Son, or God himself, had all 7 spirits, and according to what we see in Revelation chapter 5, 6 is letting us know that it was John said he saw as it were a lamb standing who had been slain, and Jesus Christ was the Lamb of God that was slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God. And then Isaiah lists each one of the 7 spirits of God as you see in the blue. And every time we continue this presentation and you see we're in dark blue, we're going to be talking about the 7 spirits of God. And the reason verse 2 of chapter 1 said to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instructions of wisdom, justice, and judgment, the equality, to give stability to the simple, to the young men, knowledge and discernment. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall obtain unto wise counsel. Stop. So all we're talking about is when we do this, you're going to go through each one, and I'm not going to go detail about it, but I am going to show you some things that I've highlighted in the yellow to those that go down into the pit. You'll see the pit talked about a whole lot in the book of Ezekiel, and God is letting us know if we live our lives that we were supposed to, we won't have to have any concerns about the pit. But if we live a life that was lived in past times and don't ask God for forgiveness of what we've done, we will be in the pit, down in the pit. And according to what He's letting us know in the book of Ezekiel, that our bed will be in the walls of the pit. Now imagine you're sleeping in a bed of fire and your soul burning forever. Now we're talking about your soul that will be in the pit, because when you leave your body, the human body, your body goes back to the dust that it came from. And just in case you don't know, according to the book of Genesis in chapter 3, letting us know that God made man breathe into the dust of the ground, the dust, and the man became a living soul. He breathed into the man's nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living soul in the dust. So when the body dies, it goes back to the dust, and the dust then goes back to where it came from, the earth. And the soul that's in the body, which came from the Creator, God Almighty, who breathed the breath of life into the dust, it goes back to the Creator. But it needs to be in in the manner that the Creator wanted and accepted back. But if the Creator does not accept it back, then it goes and lays in the bed of the pit until the great judgment. And then after the great judgment, it will actually go down into the pit and be tormented forever. So your soul is living. Please hear that. If you don't not hear anything else in this presentation, remember that your soul is living, and your soul is controlled by the keys of the seven spirits of God. And if you adhere to what we're going to give you in each one of these presentation of chapters, then we will all have an understanding of what the seven spirits of God is letting us see. You see on the screen, we're talking in verse 22, so how long you simple are ones, you love simplicity, and scorns delight in their scorns of the fools, hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproaches. This God's talking through this, letting us know what He's talking about. Behold, I will pour out mine. This is God, my spirit upon you. I will make known my words unto you. This is God letting us know about what we can do with His seven spirits and how His seven spirits can be used by each human being in order to accomplish what God wants us to accomplish. That is to put Him first in everything. At the present time, this presentation is being presented in the month of March in the year 2020. The month of March in year 2020 in the United States of America, and then near the nation's capital, the United States nation's capital, which is Washington, D.C. This presentation is being made in the month of March, and right now we're going through a pandemic, which means that there are people dying all over the world because there's a virus that's going around, and it's not the first time that a virus has came upon the earth, but at this particular time that this presentation is being made, there's a virus going on throughout the earth, and people are dying by the thousands and being taken and tested by the thousands as this pandemic goes on. So we're not going to talk about the pandemic, because this is not about that. This is about the seven spirits of God. And the last verse down in verse 33 of chapter 1 said, but whosoever hearken unto me, God is saying, shall dwell safely and shall be quick from fear of evil. If you have the seven spirits of God, God is letting us know that we have no qualms of having that fear of evil. Evil has no control of us, because God didn't give us a spirit of fear. And He's letting us know there what it meant for us to do and how we're going to get through this process. Now, continuing on with chapter 1, we're now in chapter 2, but chapter 1 ends, and now it said, my son, if you have received my word, this is God talking, and hid my commandments within you, so that you will incline your ear unto wisdom. This is God talking about one of his seven spirits, and apply it unto your heart understanding. This is God talking. Yes, if you cry out for knowledge and lift up your voice unto understanding, if you seek then as her silver. All this is about the seven spirits of God. I'm not going to go and read each verse. I said at once I'm going to try to stick to the time period, because it's just going to take some time to go through all of the books, chapters of the books that we're talking about in this presentation, okay? But the wicked shall be cut off from the earth, and the transgressions shall be rooted out of it. This is God telling us what we need to do in order to adhere to what He is saying in His Word, and we can do that by exercising the seven spirits of God that you see. Now, I'm just going to list the ones that you see here. You see wisdom, understanding, knowledge. You see the fear of the Lord. You see all these are the seven spirits of God He's talking about, and I've put them all in blue. Now, when you see well, there will be other colors, but I'm just recommending to you that you'll see every time that we're trying to show what God is saying. That is the part of this presentation where God is highlighted. He'll be in the red. His name, His Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. All this will be in the red, but the seven spirits of God you will see will be in the blue. So in the third chapter, the seven spirits of God went forth into all the earth. He said, "My son, forget not my law." but let your heart keep my commandments. This is God letting us know that his law, and well, there's us who now consider to be Christians and say we're no longer under the law. But God is letting us know that his son, Jesus Christ, didn't come to change the law. He came to fulfill the law. So we cannot live without the law. It's just that simple. We live upon this earth and we make our own laws and our own rules, but we then sometimes forget about the law that controls us all, which is the law of God. And right now in America and throughout the world, there's a virus going on, and that virus is making all of us wonder, why is this happening? Well, it's recorded in the Bible that one day with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. So this is not the first time that a virus has been upon the earth and killed a whole lot of people. It won't probably be the last time, but what we know is that God has gotten the attention of all of those who may have forgotten about him in the last 200 or 300 years. But now we're talking about God having one day being 1,000 years. So when this pandemic took place many years ago in the 1800s, that was more than 2,000 years ago. But now that's God would be just a couple of days ago. So what we're saying is within the last 3 or 4 days, God can control everything, letting us see how he controls everything, because we know that with him, one day is 1,000 of our years, and 1,000 of our years is just one day, and none of us, no human being has ever lived 1,000 years. Methuselah lived 969 years, and he's considered to be the oldest man that ever lived, but even he didn't live one day, nor did his grandfather, Adam, who was 930 years when he died or left the earth, and no one has ever lived in one day. What we're trying to say is all of us have to adhere to what God is saying. My son, forget not my law, but let your heart keep my commandments. Whosoever you are, man or woman, you don't want to forget God's law, nor do you want to ever forget his commandments. And chapter 3 continues here. We see how we're doing it now. We're breaking all the chapters down to let you stop this slide. Please stop this slide, or either go to your Bible and study it for yourself. But what we're trying to show in this presentation is when you go through this presentation, you want to pause each one of the slides and study each one of the chapters, which is broken out to show you in plain English. And we hope to try to do this put this presentation in other languages as well. But what we want to try to do here is to show you how this presentation is giving you the 7 spirits of God. And you may want to highlight other parts of this yourself. This is just me doing it. Now let me explain why I want you to see and hear what I'm saying. My fingerprints is what God gave me, and your fingerprints is what God gave you. And now no two human beings on the earth with the same fingerprint. Your twin brother, your identical twin sister. No two human beings on the earth have the same fingerprint, nor does God give two human beings the identical revelation. So I'm recommending that when you go through these verses, and we're at chapter 3 now, all these verses and all these chapters, which is 31 chapters, make sure that you understand that when you read what you read, you're going to get your understanding. And what I have highlighted, you may have other places that you want to highlight, because what you're going to be getting out of this is what God is going to give you, just like he's giving you a different fingerprint than he gave me. So make sure you understand that. That's want to point that out to say that all of the yellow and all of the different colors is what was important to me, and what the revelation of God was giving me. And the Lord by wisdom has found the earth, by understanding he has established the heavens. I only just pointed that out to show that the Lord himself, God himself, by wisdom has founded the earth. That's what the book is Revelation. I mean, that's what the Proverbs is telling us. By understanding, he has established the heaven. So all you want to do now is get all of these information that you show from chapter 1 all the way through chapter 31, which are listing different kinds of ways for you and I to get an understanding as to why it's so important for us to utilize the 7 spirits of God that he sent forth into all the earth. And I went back to show you Abraham and how Abraham is the seed, right? All of his seed is all the people on the earth, and each one of the persons on earth have the 7 spirits of God within them, even though one of the people on earth may not exercise the seven spirits of God or even know how to do that. And that's why it's so important for this book to get into the hands of everyone you know, especially your immediate family. You want all people that you can get a copy of this book, and we made it possible for you to do that. But the first thing we showed you how to obtain it so you can get an understanding of what it is and how and why it is so important to have this book. The wise shall inherit the glory. The wise shall inherit the glory. The glory of God is what we're talking about. The wise shall inherit the glory. Now, in the Bible, we know when we pray, God said He letting us teach us how to pray. The last three things He letting us know that His kingdom, His power, and His glory is forever. His kingdom, His power, His glory is forever. And here we're saying that the wise shall inherit glory, but the shame shall be promoted of fools. So understand what God is saying, that that's only one way is His way, and if we don't do it His way, there's no other way. We'll just be drifted out. There's no other way. You can't buy, and please don't let money become your God, because you cannot buy, just like it is now with this virus that's going around the world. No man's money can replace nothing. His money is useless. He just cannot buy this virus away. It's going to stay until God get ready for it to leave, just like it came as God wanted it to come. So all we're talking about is getting an understanding. So we're in chapter 4 of the presentation. Chapter 4 said, get wisdom, get understanding, get it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. All this is going to be personally. As we go through this, we're going to be talking about God is making sure that you understand what He's talking about now, because God is speaking through Solomon in this matter. And let's get a background and content of Solomon. Solomon, as you know, is the wisest man that God asked what he wanted, and Solomon told him what he wanted, which was wisdom, and that's what he got. So what we're using is the wisdom of Solomon to go through each seven spirits of God that Isaiah, who took 113 years to write the prophecy of Isaiah. But what Isaiah is letting us know during that 113-year period, that there were going to be coming to Christ, God's Son, and His God's Son would have the seven spirits of God upon Him. As we can see here now, we're talking about wisdom, knowledge, understanding, might, counsel, the fear of the Lord's Spirit Himself resting upon us. We're talking about all seven spirits of God when we're going through this presentation. Chapter 5 continues with the seven spirits of God. I have many highlights in this, but this is just me. As I'm saying, you go back and do this for yourself, and make sure you stop these slides. Chapter 5 back up through 1. Just make as often as you can to use this information. Just stop it and just day by day, moment by moment, just sit down and get an understanding of what we're talking about. I'm not trying to read it all. I'm not trying to do anything except present it to you to show you how and why it is so important for all mankind to understand what the Lord is talking about in having His seven spirits within them. It's the seven spirits of God that guides you. You really may not understand how it does, but you need understanding. God said, above all, you're get understanding. And wisdom is the mother of all knowledge, and knowledge is just that all seven spirits of God are highlighted. Now, you notice some things you don't see here. You notice chapter 5 and chapter 6, at the end of chapter 5, we're seeing that He's showing us how to execute the seven spirits of God. In chapter 6, He's also showing us how to execute the seven spirits of God, but yet you don't see either one of the seven spirits of God listed. That's how the book is laid out, to show you each verse, each chapter is just as important as the other, even though you may not see the seven spirits of God shown at the time. Look at chapter 6. See, you don't see but one of the seven spirits of God listed in chapter 6, but yet all of them are there, if you can understand what I'm saying, because it said these 6 things do God hate. Well, look, did you know of the 6 things that God hated? And are you guilty of the things of doing the things that God say He hates? Well, here they are right here in chapter 6, and then only one blue, as you see. But whosoever commits adultery with a woman like understanding. So you don't have that seventh spirit that God is saying. So if you commit adultery with a woman, God is saying, then you lack the understanding that you need in order to do that. He's just saying, you don't have the understanding. You lack that seventh spirit to do that. And all mankind, most likely, and womankind as well, is guilty of committing lack of understanding, as it were. So you see in chapter 7, he's also highlighted one of the seven spirits again, but yet all seven spirits is highlighted in each chapter, as we can see. All seven spirits are there, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time trying to go through each one. As I said earlier, we're just going to show you how, and stop this for yourself so you can get an understanding of how wisdom, knowledge, might, counsel, the fear of the Lord, the glory of the Lord, the Spirit of the Lord resting up on you, so we can get an understanding as to how we go through this. Now look at chapter 8. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil. Isn't that amazing to know that, we're always saying that God didn't give us a spirit of fear. Well, he did not give us a spirit of fear, but we're talking about us understanding that God is the creator of all, and our acknowledgement and our glorifying to him, to give him the understanding that we understand that he is the Lord, and all in his hand is the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil. The fear of the Lord is for you and I to hate evil. If we hate evil, then we fear God, because we know if we commit evil, what God can do for us. Just like now, there's a virus going on in America, and those of us who know the yes and no's about evil can understand that there's an evil, we call it a virus, up on the world right now, and the only one that control the whole problem with this is the Lord himself, to give us the understanding, the wisdom, the knowledge, the might, the counsel that we need in order to get rid of the virus, if you can hear what I'm saying. Okay, look at chapter 9. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out or cut out the seven pillars. Remember, we was talking about the pillar a while ago when we started this out, talking about the pillar to pillar and how Jacob used a pillar. Well, look how God has used the seven pillars, which are the seven spirits of God, as we're talking about. So, and he's using wisdom as a her. As you can see, her house, and she has hewn out the seven pillars. Well, look who the seven pillars that we're talking about right now in this whole presentation. So I pray that you stop all this information so you can go back and go through yourself. Now, I did not pray when we started this, but when I end this, I'm going to pray the Lord's Prayer. Hopefully, I don't forget. I'm going to go through this now. All right, now, chapter 9, the seven spirits of God. Give instructions to the wise man, and he will be yet wiser. If you give understanding, instruction to a wise man, God said, that wise man will be more wiser than he were when you gave him the instructions. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. Make sure you get an understanding for that. If you don't, then pray and ask God to give you the understanding of what he's talking about when he talks about what we just saw in chapter 9. Look at chapter 10. Oh, a fool dies for want of wisdom. A fool dies for the want of wisdom. Stop all of this information. Go through each one, because each one of these is giving information. Look at the very first verse of chapter 10. The Proverbs of Solomon, the wise son makes the glad father, but a foolish son is the heavenliest of his mother. So all we're talking about is God giving Solomon the wisdom to put all these seven spirits in a position so you and I can know how to use the seven spirits of God that's being talked about in two different books primarily. But trust me, they are also all over the Bible. It's not just the two books. I'm just trying to show you how the synopsis of the two books, Revelation and Isaiah, to show you synopsis, but they're not just in 5, 6. They're also in the chapter 1 of our book of Revelation, chapter 3, also in chapter 5. They're in the book of Revelation. So in the book of Isaiah, it names them for us, but they're throughout the Bible. And Jeremiah, all throughout the Bible, you're going to see the knowledge Peter, you go see the knowledge and the wisdom, the understanding, the might, the counsel, the fear of the Lord. But here we're just trying to point out that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. That's you and I. If you're holy, then you have understanding, and God is letting us know in these scriptures here, above all our getting, we have to get an understanding, and according to what we see here. Now let's go on. In chapter 10 is a continuation of chapter 10. The blessings of the Lord, it makes rich, and he adds a sorrow with it. So all we're talking about is understanding here. The fear of the Lord is prolonged the days, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. The fear of the Lord. Now remember, we saw a while ago that the fear of the Lord is the beginning to avoid evil, right? So, but if we're evil, saying the fear of the Lord is prolong the days, but the years of the wicked, that's evil, shall be shortened or smugged them out. Okay. So go on and stop this, please. Share this with your children, your children's children, anybody that you can share it with, every human being that you can share it with. I hope and pray that you share it, because all you are doing is stopping things that just should not be, according to what this is saying. This has nothing to do with other than you. This is all really about you, and you have an understanding that you need all seven. You have all seven spirits, but we all need to exercise all seven spirits. We need understanding. We need might. We need God's counsel. We need His understanding. We need His holiness. All about us. That's what we need. And we then will understand how it is so important for us to go to Him, to ask Him how to let us do something for Him, as opposed to letting us go to Him all the time and asking Him to do something for us. In the book of Zechariah, in chapter 7, verse 5, God is letting us know that we were in captivity. The children of Israel were in captivity for 70 years. He said, and not a single time or one time did they fast for Him. They fast for themselves while they're in captivity and asking Him to do things in their fast, but not, He said, one time did they fast for Him. So now let us get an understanding of these seven spirits of God, so that we then can go to God and ask God, what can we do for Him that'll help Him do what He wants to do for us, because He wants to do something for us, because we say that, we're going to say that in His prayer, that He loves us so that He gave His Son for us. And that love that He gave His Son for us mean that He will do for us what we ask. Asking it shall be given, seeking you shall find, knocking it shall be opened unto you. For everyone who asks it will receive, and he or she seeks it will find it, and to him or her that knock it shall be opened. So we believe that God is going to answer our prayer, but the person that I'm asking you to do now is to ask God, pray to God and ask God, what can you do for Him that will enable Him to do what you want Him to do for you, and the blessings should come faster, according to what we're seeing here. Now, here I have darkened this word abomination, as righteousness tend to life, so he that pursues evil pursues it to his own death. They are of a forward heart, are an abomination unto the Lord. Look at chapter 11, verse 19. Look at that really, really close, because you don't want to be in an abomination to the Lord by being evil. And according to what 19 is saying, verse 19, the very first part of it said, as a righteous tends to life, so he that pursues evil pursues his own death. You don't want to commit suicide by committing evil. What the proverb is saying, or what the Spirit is saying to you through the proverb, is that you're pursuing your own death. Look at chapter 12, the seven spirits of God that sent forth into all the earth. Whosoever love instruction, love knowledge. Whosoever love instruction, love knowledge. The virtuous woman is the crown of her husband. I put that in yellow to let for all my sisters to see what God is saying about a virtuous woman. And throughout the whole book, we're going to be talking about this. And down at the last verse 15 said, the way of a fool is straight in his own eye, but he that hearkens unto counsel is wise. Each verse of each chapter is one is just as important as the other. I'm just trying to show you how to utilize the seven spirits of God. And when you don't see the blue like in here in 19 through 31 in the book chapter 11, you don't see the seven spirits of God listed, but yet they are all there. That's what he's talking about. So you are exercising the seven spirits of God, or one of the seven spirits of God, when you avoid evil. Because remember a while ago he's talking about how evil it is, and having the fear of the Lord is to avoid evil. And here we're talking about it being an abomination against God. Well, you don't want your abomination to be because of the evil that will be done. Okay, moving on. We're now 30 minutes into this. A fool's wrath is presently known, but a prudent man covers shame. Throughout the Bible, we're talking about this, and hear that word: lying lips is an abomination to the Lord, but they that deals truthfully are a delight. Okay, we're looking at 12. That's chapter 12, verse 22. So stop this, get an understand what we're talking about. This is my fingerprint that you see in the yellow, but you may have your fingerprints all over this by the time you're finished. And blot out my yellowness, because all what you see in the yellow, that's my fingerprint trying to show you what I see, what the revelation that God is giving me. Your fingerprint is going to be what you see and what the revelation is give you, and yours may be completely entirely different from mine, because I don't believe that God's going to give us both of the same fingerprint. It may give us the same understanding, the same knowledge, the wisdom, and the might to counsel. But go on. A wise son that hears his father's instruction, but a scornful hears not rebuke. So God is letting us see in by his son how we are to do this. I'm talking about Solomon being the one that he asked what could he give him. He asked him for knowledge, and God gave him wisdom and knowledge, all that he has. And now he's showing us the seven spirits and how to utilize all seven spirits that Isaiah was talking about. Now Isaiah is very instrumental. We'll go back through the Kings. We can go to Chronicles and Isaiah. All throughout the Old Testament, you may see Isaiah, because Isaiah took 113 years for him to write his prophecy, and that prophecy was written under many, many different kings. So we're going to go on with this now, chapter 13. Got a few more chapters left, and we're about to conclude this. We're in chapter 14. The seven spirits of the Lord is: a wise woman builds her nest, builds her house, but a foolish plucks it down with her hands. And not only we're talking about the man, we're talking about the woman too. Throughout the Bible, we're talking about mankind. I'm going to stop and take a drink of water just for a minute, please. Okay, well, moving on. 14 is talking about the faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness will utter lies. Don't be a false witness. That's what he was saying. She was saying in 14, chapter 14, verse 5. All of this is just nothing but pure understanding of the seven spirits of God, and revealing the seven spirits of God and how to use all seven spirits of God in our lives, and let it govern our lives. Look at 14:25. A true witness delivers souls. A true witness delivers souls. So sharing this information with someone else is going to allow you. You see what it's saying? A true witness. You want to be a true witness, and by sharing this information with someone else, you'll be living in that soul. But deceitful witness speaks lies. In the fear of the Lord is strong confidence, and his children shall have a place of refuge. The fear of the Lord is a fortune of life. So you see, two different times he's talking about the fear of the Lord. So when someone say that he didn't give us a spirit of fear, well, understand what we're talking about when we're talking about the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is to have reverence for the Lord and to do his will. The fear of the Lord is not to do his will. If I don't do his will, then I need to know what the consequences are for not doing his will. That's what the fear of the Lord is. And if I don't do his will, he's telling us back in the previous chapter that we are seeking evil. So the fear of the Lord here is strong confidence, and his children shall have a place of refuge in the Lord. Your refuge is in the Lord. You have to worry about nothing. Wisdom rests in her. Wisdom rests in the heart of him that has understanding. Remember, say above all you're getting understanding. Well, look at 14:33. It's letting us know that wisdom rests in the heart of him that has understanding. But he that which is in the middle of a fool make it known. All these is just the usage of the seven spirits of God inside of you. Yep, you, and also you. It's the usage of the seven spirits of God. How to use the seven spirits of God. And once you know how to use the seven spirits of God, then you are walking with God and helping those out into the world who don't know how to use the seven spirits of God. Because right now, this virus that's all over the world don't have the knowledge to understand how to stop the person here, your next door neighbor, the person here. So they are housing themselves, they're hiding themselves from one another in order to prevent one another from. I have to understand what I'm saying, and now I hope that the Spirit give it to you. So all we're talking about here is utilizing the seven spirits of God that is within you. You know your child is in the mother's womb, father or your mother, you know your child that's in your womb are going to be born with the seven spirits of God? Do you know your great grandparents who may be almost ready to go home to be with the Lord? Do they also have the seven spirits of God? There's no human being that does not have the seven spirits of God. All human beings have the seven spirits of God, but very few know how to utilize or use all seven spirits of God in order to make their lives easier. Chapter 15, a wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish man despises his mother. I'm just trying to point out some things that's being talked about in this book talk on and about the seven spirits of God. The Lord will destroy the house of the proud. Now, God hates pride. I can tell you that God hates pride. You may hear that plane that's going by because we live right beside one of the largest Air Force bases in the world. I'm going to take a drink of water. Now, let's go back to 15:25. The Lord will destroy the house of pride. God hates pride. Now, God described Job in the book of Job in chapter 1. God described Job as being a righteous and upright man. But by the time you finish chapter 42 of the book of Job, you will see that that righteous and upright man that God was describing still had some form of a pride. And he exercised that. That's how God chastised Job in chapter 37, 38. And specifically 38 through 41, you see God chastising Job. Well, Job has displayed a pride, and God does not. Matter of fact, you're going to see that God hates pride. So by God hating pride, he had to chastise Job. Look at verse 16:5. Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. So you see, God hates pride in chapter 15. It's letting us know how God will destroy the house of pride. And then down in chapter 16:5 is letting us see that the proud in the heart, if you have a proud heart, then your proud heart is an abomination against God. You can't have a proud heart. You just can't do that if you're the leader of a country. And there are many leaders of the country who has pride because they think that their money is their God, and money is not their God. And money can't buy, for an example, money can't buy the healing of the virus that's all over the world. There are thousands and thousands of people that's getting the virus. There are thousands and thousands of people here in the year 2020 in the month of March that are dying from the virus, and many countries have all kind of money, but they can't stop the dying of the people. They can't stop either one from getting the virus because they don't have the like of the pride that they have to turn to God and put him first and to get rid of the virus that's there, and their monies are not working. So I can rest assured to you to know that you do not want to have this pride within you that God is talking about. To make sure you stop this information, and once again, we're at chapter 16 and read it for yourself. Well, look then to divide the spoils of the proud. See, see how much God is putting in your spirit to let you see what he thinks about pride in this chapter 16 of the seven spirits of God. He's talking about you and I not having this thing we call pride. Stop this verse or stop this entire book. Go back, read it over and over and over again, and again get a copy. What you're going to see here is going to be in a video form on the screen, but then you want to just get the book so you can go through the book yourself and see how to utilize the seven spirits of God yourself, or you can go to your own Bible and do that. You may not see it in the Bible in the posture that I put it together here, but it is in the Bible. Look at verse 31. A halter head is a crown of glory. Look at all the things and all the gold and the riches that's in this book. These seven spirits of God are within every human being, and that's why it is so important for every human being that you know, and the ones that you don't know, if you meet them as a stranger, they need to have this information. So you want to share this with as many people as possible in order for those persons to get what you're going to get out of this. Now, we're at almost 45 minutes in doing this, and I'm going to try to speed it up now so that by the end of the hour, we can have done this. But it would be an hour, but it will be the best hour that you have spent in your life to get an understanding of the seven spirits of God. Because you may not have even heard of the seven spirits of God until today. You may not ever even know how many keys there are within this seven spirits of God that Isaiah talked about in chapter 11, verse 2. You may not have ever read chapter 11, verse 2, 1 through 4. You may not have considered any of the knowing about the seven spirits of God. But now here's the opportunity for you to share them with the world. Verse 17:24 said, wisdom is before him that has understanding, but the eyes of a fool are the end of the earth. Please share this with as many people as possible so that you can get the truth and the news that you have in you out now. Now you know who you are. Now you can see within you what God has put in you. That's seven spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. They are within all mankind. But Jesus Christ is the glory of God that brought them into the earth and utilized them, as you can hear what I'm saying. Yep, it was Jesus Christ who is the glory of God, and you'll see that in a few minutes. We're going to show you that in a few minutes before we can end this process. Now I am moving kind of fast because I want to go up through chapter 31 to get through this, but I'm not going to just go that fast. I want you to see why you should stop every slide and make sure that you understand it. If you don't go through the slides and you want to get a copy of the book, the way I've laid it out, and go through each one of the chapters, verse by verse. Or you may just not want to use mine. You may want to go and do the same thing I've done for yourself. You can do that and do it differently. It's okay. Let's get an understanding of what we're talking about. That's all I'm talking about. It's for you to get what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to pause just a minute and drink. So, look, counsel in the heart of a man is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. Amazing. It's amazing how the information is to the soul when you go through this. It's the soul that's housing these seven spirits, and the soul wakes up and understanding what's in your soul, not your mind, your soul, which are you. You are the soul of your body, and your body lives by the soul. And when the soul leaves the body goes back to the dust, and yeah, we call it death, but the soul does not die. It's a living soul. It does not ever die, but it can go to a resting place in eternity forever and be with the Creator that is eternity. Remember now, one day with the Creator is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. But when He stops time, and time is going to stop. You see it in the book of Daniel, and you also see it in the book of Revelation when the seven seals are opened and closed. But what we're talking about here right now is for you to have an understanding about your soul and what your soul is going to go by. So here we're in chapter 21, and in chapter 20, and now we should be able to go through to see chapter by chapter. But yet and still, notice what we're talking about. In the blue, we're going to see the seven spirits. In the black, it's going to be about the abomination to the Lord. You don't want to be an abomination to anything or the Lord especially. But look at what we're talking about when you stop each slide. Please do that. Chapter 21 is the ending of verse 30. Look at verse 30. It said, there is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against the Lord. The horse is prepared for great battle, but safety is of the Lord. That's verse 20. That's verse 30 of chapter 21. That's the end of chapter 21. Look at chapter 22, seven spirits of the Lord. Now, again, my fingerprint is there that said the mouth of the strange woman is the deep pit. Pit, hear that word pit. He that is ahoted of the Lord shall fall therein. Talking about the pit. So make sure you understand what we're talking about. By humility, the fear of the Lord are rich, and the honor and life. All this is for the soul and for you and for your soul. We only got about 11 minutes, so I'm going to speed this up. This is chapter 23, and make sure you go through each one of these chapters to get an understanding. Stop this, read it for yourself. My fingerprints are there. My fingerprints will be in yellow, but your fingerprints may also be in yellow or another color when you go through this. It may not even be on the verses, or most likely it won't be on the verses because your fingerprints are not the same as mine. But it is going to give you an understanding of the book that God is talking to us about. So we're moving on through this whole process. Chapter 24, this is chapter 25, is this Solomon, because I do want to pray, and that's going to take a little time. So it is the glory of God that conceals things. It is the glory of God that conceals things. Now look, I want to point this out, which are, look, let me look, 25:1. These are also Proverbs of Solomon, right? Which the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah. Now, and remember now, Solomon was the king of Judah, and this is about the king of Judah. I need you to understand that too. It is the glory of God that conceals things. It is the glory of God that conceals things to you. Whether or not you are from the tribe of Judah or whatever, it's the glory of God that conceals things. But this proverb was by Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, which was of Judah, both Solomon and Hezekiah was Judah. Okay, 26. We're moving on. It says the seven spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. So we've been talking about the seven spirits of God that were sent forth into all the earth. You see it in Revelation chapter 5, 6. Said that was a lamb that had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the seven spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. Okay, so chapter 27, we're moving on because I want to pray. Chapter 28. Okay, stop each slide. Read it for yourself. Chapter 29. We're almost there at the end, that is. This is chapter 29. This is chapter 30. Again, there are some things in here I really want to go through, but we're going to try to do this within an hour. Chapter 31 is where we are now. Now we're at the end. I'm going to introduce myself to you. Stop this information and make sure that you share this with as many people as possible. I would say no less than 10, 20 persons per month. Make sure you share so they can also see the seven spirits of God. Now here I am. My name is David Richardson, and I also have written many, done many things. But the book of the inheritance is what you're going to see now. I took the book of inheritance out of the Bible, talking about who's going to inherit, for they be your people. This is Solomon's prayer, and he's praying to the Lord, and let you and I hear what he's saying in his prayer. For they, meaning you and I, be your people and your inheritance, which you brought forth out of Egypt from the middle of the furnace of fire of iron. So look, furnace of iron. So look, we is God's inheritance. So you got to understand that you are God's inheritance. You are God's inheritance. And there are other books. You see all these books over here. Up under my picture on the right, you'll see this is we were talking about the months Jesus Christ was born, and I want to make sure you watch on your far right. There's all the videos that you really want to adhere to and go through. Now I'm in the end of this now, and I'm going to pray the prayer that Jesus Christ prayed before he died a didn't pray it at the beginning, but I do want to pray it now. So in the book of John in chapter 1 through in chapter 17, that is, verse 1 through 26, John chapter 17, verse 1 through 26, he's praying before he died. He died for mankind, but before he died, he prayed, and that's the prayer that I hope for you to learn. Looking up into heaven, he said, Father, I was come to glorify your Son, that your Son may also glorify you, as you have given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as you have given him. And this is life eternal, that they may know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, of whom you have sent. Yes, I've glorified you on the earth, and I have finished the work for which you gave me to do. And now, O Father, glorify you me with your own self, with the glory which I had with you before the world was. So I manifested your name unto the men which you gave me out of the world, and yours they were, and you gave them me, and they have kept your word, and now they have known that all things whatsoever you have given me are of you. For I have given unto them the words which you gave me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I came out from you, and they have believed that you did send me. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them of which you have given me, for they are yours, and all yours are mine, and all mine are thine, and I am glorified in them. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you. Holy Father, keep through your own name those whom you have given me, that they may be one as we are. So, Father, with them in the world, I kept them in your name. Those that you gave me, I kept, and none of them are lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture may be fulfilled. And now come out to you in these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I've given them your word, and the world has hated them because they're not of the world, even as I'm not of the world. I pray not that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil. They are not of the world, even as I'm not of the world, and sanctify them through your truth. And your word is truth. If you have sent me into the world, even so have I also sent them into the world, and for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they may be sanctified through the truth. And neither pray I for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word, that they may be one as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they may be one in us, and that the world may believe that you have sent me, and the glory which you gave me I have given them, that they may be one even as we are one. I in them, and you in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that you have sent me, and have loved them as you have loved me. So, Father, I will that they also whom you have given me be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory for which you have given me, for why you loved me before the foundations of the world. O righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you, and these have known that you did send me, and I have declared unto them your name, and will declare it, that the love wherewith may be in them, and I in them. And that's the prayer that Jesus Christ prayed. And we are at the end of this presentation now. My name is David Richardson, that you can see my name on the screen. And I do hope for you to share this information with as many people as possible. And I'm asking you to look down at the purpose and say, what if I told you that you are God's inheritance instead of you inheriting him or his son, the Christ? Yep, you are his inheritance, and you now have an opportunity to share with the world the seven spirits of God that are within you. And you're going to get that information from the book that we just shared with you. We'll put it together in a manner so that you can understand it and share it with the all. I would say just don't stop. Just get the copies. You will go to the URL seedofabram.com and get a copy and share it. And then you can also make donations so we can share other information with scholarship funds with people who are in college who need help, and don't have to be in college. You can be a person that want to go and didn't have a chance to go. It's just means for you to share and help other people. God said it, I didn't say it. It's more blessed to give than it is to receive. And if you get these copies and give it to someone else, you're going to show that person, your niece, your nephew, your uncle, your grandparents, your next door neighbor, your co-worker. You're going to show somebody the seven spirits of God that are within them, which are the same seven spirits of God are within you. But each one of you have an opportunity to display or use each one of the seven spirits of God as God has put them in you for you to use. That's what we're talking about, you and I using the same seven spirits of God, the same, but your use and my use is different. Just like your fingerprint is different than my fingerprint. There are no two people that's going to have the same fingerprint. There are no two people that's going to use each one of the seven spirits of God in the same manner, but they still are being used in what God wants us to use, the tools that he has, which are his seven spirits sent forth into all the earth. You'll see that in the book of Revelation. You'll see them displayed in the book of Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 1 through 4. They're there. Again, I'm exhausted from this hour of putting this information out. Just remember that you inherited God. When you were born, you are his inheritance. And he wants his inheritance to be so that his inheritance can be displayed so that others can know and inherit what he has already given you, which is his inheritance. I want to thank you for this. Again, my name is David Richardson. I try to teach the Bible as an evangelist, not a preacher or a deacon or anything like that. I just try to share God's word. And on the left side of on the right side of my picture at the top on the right, these are all different kinds of lessons. And I pray that you go to cometobibleclass.com to get an understanding and why it's so important to know all information that is there. And also the book of Revelations is there going through that to show you how and why you should understand that from Genesis to Revelation and from Revelation to Genesis. I thank you. I love you and have a good day. Remember, this is David. You be blessed. And I do love you with all my heart.